Welcome back, everybody. Today we will be discussing the Jordan 3 White Cement Reimagined. Specifically, we'll be discussing some lease info, how to cop, and of course, some resale predictions at the end of the video. The Jordan 3 White Cement Reimagined releases on March 11th, but they already had a shock drop on Nike sneakers, as well as exclusive access, which consisted of about 50,000 pairs each, amounting to about 100,000 stock total already released by Nike. Make sure to follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, so you get these urgent notifications. And for early information, before any of these shock drops actually occur, make sure to follow Endurance on Twitter if you're interested in catching a restock. Retail is $210 for men's sizes, $150 for grade school, $90 for preschool, and $60 for toddler. Stock between all sizes combined is over 400,000 pairs, which is significantly more than Jordan 3s or any retro for the matter typically has, aside from the Jordan 1 Chicago Reimagined, also known as the Jordan 1 Lost and Found, which had about 500,000 pairs. As for resale, we'll get to that at the end of the video as always. Specifically, for this how to cop, we'll be going in chronological order, along with exactly how to efficiently manage your time and set up for this drop, since a lot is going to be going on at once as usual. But prior to discussing the first come first serve online drops, make sure you don't forget to sign up for the Flex app reservations. This is one of the best ways to get pairs, as well as asking your local foot stores about their procedure for the leftover pairs. Also, DSG is now doing app reservations too, so make sure to download their app and sign up while you still can. Finish Line and JD are doing in-store raffles this time rather than the typical status access. Check out your local stores when you do have a chance. Remember, I will always post the full site list on my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and personals for you, along with any urgent updates such as the recent shock drops we have seen, so make sure to follow for that. Now, moving on to the online first come first serve sites, we'll start with the US sites in chronological order. Normally, I'd start with the Undefeated potentially being at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, but according to that new leaked Nike document that we discussed not too long ago, stores are no longer able to drop before Nike. We'll see if this goes into effect now or not, but if this is the case, then obviously you shouldn't waste your time with Undefeated, because the only reason I even suggest going for them is because nothing else will be typically occurring at 8 a.m., but if it's at 10 a.m., don't waste your time, there's better options. Now, moving on to the confirmed 10 a.m. Eastern Time drops, this is where the actual fun begins as usual. Since there's a lot to focus on, I'm going to guide you and suggest to you how to efficiently manage your time as usual. First, I would suggest going for Hibbett as your first come first serve choice at precisely 10 a.m. Eastern Time, since Hibbett will sell out quickly, but it is one of your best manual opportunities. You might get the press and hold capture loop from Perimeter X. Just some tips to prevent this loop, just like we discussed in the prior How to Cop guide. Go to the Coming Soon page on mobile on the Hibbett calendar, and right before 10 a.m., click the Jordan 3, then scroll down slowly until you see the sizes. If you scroll too quickly, you might trigger that capture loop. My biggest advice in general here, though, is to use Apple Pay on your mobile device for the most efficient checkout. Or, as an alternative to Hibbett, you could choose one or two Shopify sites to focus on at precisely 10 a.m. Eastern Time, since those are also very time sensitive. Since you should still be able to profit despite a shipping rate, your best bet might be Shop Nice Kicks or Shoe Palace, since they tend to get the most stock, but even those will be nearly impossible manually. Again, I really suggest going for Hibbett, but it's up to you. You could also consider going for DTLR, since they tend to get a lot of stock. Normally I would have suggested Jimmy Jazz too, but not anymore, as they now drop their stock on Snipes. If you click on the releases page, it'll direct right to Snipes USA, which means Snipes Drop should now have even more stock. Regardless, all these Shopify sites will still be harder than Hibbett, so in conclusion, your 10 a.m. first come first serve focus should be on Hibbett, but these are your other time sensitive alternatives if you desire. Now, right after those first come first serve drops are over, or even while you're waiting in the Shopify queue, I want you guys to enter in as many sneakers accounts into the drop as possible. This is going to be your number one chance by far for copying these, of course, because there's the majority of stock here. Now, what's the most efficient way to cop off of sneakers manually? Well, these are currently loaded as a Dan release. Essentially, this is a 10-minute raffle. My biggest advice is to use as many unique devices as possible, and I actually made an in-depth video regarding why this is, so feel free to check it out when you have a chance. I'll link it at the end of the video. After sneakers, you'd normally want to shift your focus to periodically checking Finish Line, JD Sports, and Snipes to see if you have passed their queues. Finish Line and JD did not do status access, so there should be quite a lot of stock available on the online release, so definitely worth trying there. But they also did do an in-store raffle, so definitely check out locations near you as well. Regarding snipes, if you pass queue here, it's definitely possible to cop manually, but passing is the hard part. With Gargantua AIO, you could generate bypass links, so it's always a cookout for users, but it is still possible to pass naturally too, just a very low probability, of course. Foot sites are simply not worth your time at all. They'll be impossible manually. And just a quick tip for Finish Line and JD, only open up one tab, because if you open up too many, you will get IP banned. They're very sensitive with this. Make sure to set these up well beforehand. Remember, I tweet out the links on my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and personals for you. Make sure you're prepared well beforehand. But with US sites out of the way, now let's move on to Europe sites. Although many Europe retailers are doing raffles, there still are some first come first serve drops which you can prepare for. The best drop for Europe would be, of course, Nike sneakers at 9 AM CET. Unlike US, it appears they are loaded as a Leo in Europe, let everyone order, so you'll essentially just have 2 minutes to enter in as many accounts as possible. It is extremely likely that Soulbox and Snipes will both drop at 9 AM CET as usual too, and if you have access to a Soulbox and Snipes monitor, you'll have a decent chance to copy manually here. I would also suggest making accounts beforehand and being signed in, of course. Zalando might potentially drop too, but they have not loaded either yet. Then Offspring may potentially drop as well, but for Offspring, I would suggest enabling post notifications for their Instagram if you don't have access to a monitor. They're relatively fast at posting when it does go live. They normally don't drop precisely at 9 AM whenever they do, so there's no need to focus on here at 9 either, just focus on sneakers, especially because their first come first serve drops have become less common now. Foot Locker is also going to be dropping, but there isn't much manual chance here anyway. That will be it for the how to cop portion of the guide. Now with the how to cop out of the way, let's move on to some resale predictions. First of all, stock on these is above average for a Jordan 3, well above average in fact. This will negatively impact the value. However, similar to the Jordan 1 lost and found situation, these also have extremely high demand, considering this is one of the most iconic sneakers of all time. Although, I would say that demand is lower than those Jordan 1 lost and founds, it's still exceptionally high, as we could see reflected in the extremely high sale volume despite post-shock drop prices being around $300. And keep in mind, this is not a normal pre-sale market. There is already over 100,000 pairs in circulation from the shock drop, exclusive access, and general early pairs. And with that said, I think it's very possible that a lot of people might be undervaluing them right now, overselling them, rushing to sell them before the main drop. A full analysis on this will come the day before the drop, with a seller hold video, of course, as usual, so make sure to subscribe and enable post notifications for that. But as of now, retail is $210 for men, $150 for grade school, so I would say I'm expecting these to remain profitable with a good margin, not a great margin, but a good margin in both the men and grade school sizes. And of course, large sizes will of course be the best, primarily sizes 10 and above. Overall, this drop should be a great opportunity to make profit considering the extremely high demand and high stock, in addition to of course getting some iconic personals that we all need. Anyway, that'll conclude it for today. You can feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or maybe if you learned a thing or two, subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the other links in the description below for reliable, fast residential proxies. You can also feel free to follow Endurance on Twitter for upcoming restocks, so you can get early information for shock drops like we saw for these and much more. Last but not least, make sure to follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, so you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was going over today. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck on the release.